night to all of you. I know you're going to excuse my looks for this evening because you know what? I'm on the road all day, running up, down, and all around and ensuring that justice prevails. And so let me take this opportunity to welcome every single one of you. You know, we look forward to seeing you and you look forward to seeing us on advancing the cause. But you know what? Advancing the cause is hotter than hot tonight. And as our theme or our topic says tonight, Jack Dio is running from the real issue. Jack Dio dodging from the real issue. And so before we start, I want to say to those who would have celebrated birthdays from last Wednesday to this Wednesday, happy birthday to you. I know that you are getting older, and as you get older, you're going to get wise. And we pray that God would bless you with wisdom and give you the tolerance to be able to deal with the people you have to deal with around you. And for those who are suffering at this time, we want to extend to you our heartfelt sympathy. More especially, we want to extend our sympathy to the family of the late Andrew Garnett, past president of the Guyana Trades Union Congress. That's a hard blow for us, but like everything else, God knows best. And we're hoping that his family members, his immediate family members, we're going to draw strength from the precious memories they have of him. Well, tonight into advancing the cause, Jagdio dodging the real issue. But before I go to the real issue, I want to share with you quickly, Ministry of Education, fix it right, get it right. Today, I think it's an 8-year-old who fell off the stairway, an 8-year-old from St. Ambrose Primary School. Part of the stairway fell on him. Fix the business. You're running around the place and you're doing all kinds of things. And there are schools that are dilapidated in this country and you're not fixing them. You're waiting for somebody's child to be seriously injured. Priya jumping up all around the place. I noticed she put up something about how many schools in 1 month. When you got schools that needs fixing, you're not fixing those schools. Mind you, we are not against having new schools, but the ones that you're having in existence, fix them. All those holes that we are seeing in some of those buildings, fix them. While you're building new schools, fix them. But we know the reasons why we're jumping to build all these new schools, because them boys and them girls gotta get a little payback. Money got to make. And that's a fact. But our real issue, apart from the accidents, apart from the murders, people, come on. We've got to do something better than what we're doing. We have a population way under 1 million. And if every day 3 and 4 persons are dying, then there will come a point when we're not going to have about 500 persons in this country. Come on, we've got to be a little more careful. I'm hoping that the Ministry of Social Protection, they're putting systems in place and they're even employing more officers to be able to go out there in the streets to work with our citizens in terms of conflict resolution. Well, they got big confusion in their company house, so they can't resolve it. But we're hoping that systems are going to be put there because we know, and you know, my viewers, that there have been lots and lots of monies that would have been allotted coming out of the budget to deal with all of these or many of these social issues that we're having. So come on. Jagdio dodging the real issue. Operator, could you bring my guest right on because we've got stories to talk about.
Indeed.
Well,
good evening.
MP Chris, how are you doing?
No bad at all.
How have you been over the last weekend and during this week?
Well, last weekend has been quite eventful. I mean, apart from Father's Day and all of that, the whole issue surrounding Government Minister Nigel Darmblal, and into this week, the several protests that we have seen across. We saw civil society, people from in the diaspora, lending their voice to the issues. So it's been a very eventful week thus far.
But I'm wondering if the operators got this picture with a man holding up a little baby. We got a guy who got a little baby. She must have been about 2 years or 2.5, somewhere there. And I saw this man captioning there that of all the titles that he would have received, this is the best one. I don't know whether we can call that man a father or a daddy, because daddies don't behave the way this guy is behaving. And this is the dildo man I'm talking about,
Oh.
the dildo guy. I can't use any other word, not even the name that was given to him on his birth certificate to call him there. Daddies don't behave in that way. Fathers don't behave in that way. I mean, and I'm gonna be raw here because this is what the law says. The laws of Guyana, especially in that act, it doesn't say anything about sodomy. It talks about buggery. And daddies don't bugger girls. You got to be a beast to want to do that. And so we got this beast modeling himself around the place and posing. Imagine you have an issue surrounding you, a serious issue surrounding you. And then you're here, how you're so pompous to taunt people to say, this is the most prestigious of names that you would have gotten. Chris, did this issue, this whole splur of the dildo man, are you surprised by any chance?
I'm not surprised by it at all. And in fact, my comments here is going to be in direct response to Barra Jagdeo. Just a few minutes.
Jagdeo dodged the real issue you're talking about.
That's correct. Same Jagdeo. Just a few minutes ago, Jagdeo came off of an interview on social media in which he sought to, amongst other things, label me again. I don't know what is Jagdeo's sudden fixation on Christopher Jones, but it appears that Christopher Jones is now the center of everything that Barra Jagdeo has to say. But in the interview earlier tonight, as it relates to the specific issue, the allegation before this nation as it relates to Nigel Darmalal, what Barra Jagdeo sought to do, which is sad, is Jagdeo sought to make light of the issue. And Jagdeo went on a rant and labeled several organizations that have since came out and voiced their disgust about the current situation and calling for an impartial investigation. Jagdeo said and named several organizations, amongst which includes, well, obviously he would always label the APNU AFC, but he went to the red thread. I think it's Bloom's, I can't remember the name of the organization that actually had that critical interview with the young lady and so forth. He labeled all of them, as being political and all of that. And it's sad because, as I mentioned before, Jagdeo is making light of this incident. And then Jagdeo at the same time is trying to put the minister of which these allegations have been leveled as a peach, as a peach, a rose, and so forth. And that is not the case, because we have seen allegations dating as far back as when the said minister was permanent secretary in the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs. And there were allegations there that he beat several women inside of his office. Those were made public. It is in the newspapers. And then most recently, as last year, we saw the letter from a young lady residing in the United States alleging about inappropriate conversation and photographs being sent by the said minister to her with his private parts, which has now resulted to people referring to him as Mr. 2-inch and so forth. And then here it is now, this new allegation about inappropriate, well, in fact, rape, allegedly rape and sodomy of an underage girl by the said minister. Jagdeo, just a few minutes ago, in the interview, sought to make light. In his comments, you will get the impression that the minister in which these allegations have been leveled is a peach, It is the same minister last year in the National Assembly who told the female members of the opposition in the parliament while he was on the floor addressing the parliament during the consideration of the estimates for the budget that those female members of the opposition needed a dildo loud in the parliament. It is in the Hansard. It is in the recording. Those recordings were being transmitted across the world live in real time. And this is the said individual that Barra Jagdeo a few minutes ago in an interview is trying to portray him as a peach. He's not a peach, he's a beast. And that is why organizations like the APNU, like the Red Thread, like the Women's Lawyers Association, like the persons in the diaspora who have voiced their disgust, and the Amerindian associations and so forth that have listed their disgust about it, are on the side of right. But there's a saying that birds of a feather always find themselves flocking together. Because while Bharat Jagdeo a few minutes ago is trying to portray this said minister as being a peach, the very same Bharat Jagdeo, and he's making reference that Christopher Jones is such a liar. I've never seen that person lie so much. This is the said Bharat Jagdeo who told this nation when he was president that he's a married man. You understand? The very same Bharat Jagdeo who's calling Christopher Jones a liar, who as president told this nation, in fact, this world, that as president, he's a married man. Mm-hmm. And then the nation and the world learn contrary to that, the same Jagdeo, Mm-hmm. And why, again, as Jagdeo is making this issue of the allegations before Nigel Darmala light, because the said Bharat Jagdeo, again, you had the then First Lady Varshli Jagdeo speaking to the media in writings and so forth, in statements referencing to the mental abuse that she suffered at the hands of Bharat Jagdeo, who's supposed to be her husband. The same Varshli Jagdeo, former First Lady of Ghana, alleged that the said Bharat Jagdeo, who a few minutes ago was on an interview trying to portray himself and his minister, who is a beast, as a peach, it is alleged from First Lady Varshli Jagdeo that Jagdeo locked her out of their matrimonial room, in which you had the presidential guards used to bring up pillows and give her so she can sleep on the couch. The same Jagdeo. So that is why, again, as we mentioned, birds of a feather flock together. So Jagdeo in Nigel Darmalal find a place in which he has to come out and portray Nigel Darmalal as a peach, because he himself allegations of, not a similar nature, but allegation of verbal and emotional abuse level at the feet of the then First Lady Varshli.
But Chris, you have to understand what the man was doing. Remember, this man, in his mind, and to himself, he knew that he was not legally married to the woman.
Correct.
So that's why he was keeping her out of the matrimonial bedroom. And you can't vex with
and lie to the nation.
And you can't vex with the man, but that the man was keeping her out there because he wasn't legally married, but he told everybody else that he was married.
We saw the images on the National Communications Network, or at the time might have been GTV.
And all the gifts that he collected.
Yes, all of that. And we saw those videos.
Around.
Yes, the same Bharat Jagdeo, and a few minutes ago on an interview is calling me a liar. The said man who was president of this country that lied to the entire nation and the world that he's a married man.
Don't forget, just the other day, the same Bharat Jagdeo lied to this country when he said that there were no cameras, they ain't got no camera footage when the big drug bust was had.
Yeah. Same man.
When Brussels got everything.
Same man.
The people far got everything.
Same man.
But the man, this is Bharat Jagdeo. He always dodges from the real issue. He's always dodging. Mm-hmm. Everything, you check it, everything that his ministers did then and whatever they're doing now, you don't hear the president coming out to say anything.
Yeah.
Well, the man who's supposed to be the president,
yeah.
You don't hear him. What you do hear is Bharat Jagdeo.
Correct.
But he doesn't speak to the issues.
Correct.
I remember when we had the issue with Dharamlal when he was PS. Mm-hmm. All the allegations, you heard nothing. Everybody just covered up. Mm-hmm. We had the issue of Kwame assaulting Tabitha.
Yeah.
All of them came out in support of him.
Circle the wagon.
We had the issue of Dharamlal when that young lady's mother posted all of those conversations.
That's right.
That many of the conversations she was having with him.
Yeah.
And when he thought it was her daughter. Mm-hmm. And when she actually revealed herself to him and he recognized that it was the wrong person, you know what he cried out and he said? His phone lost. You remember when he said his phone was stolen?
I remember that.
So it is in light of these kinds of emboldenment where you would have elevated Dharamlal, the rapist, where you would have elevated him from non-performance and out of performance and out of everything, you would have elevated him. That's why we're having this here now. But the thing is, it is disgusting. It is distasteful. It is the most ridiculous and shameful thing that we could ever have in this country, where a sitting minister has been accused and not a word from the vice president. He speaks on everything else. Not a single word.
But to the credit of the interviewer earlier today, this evening, is that he shoot the direct questions to him about Dharmalal, contrary to what we saw on Monday, when an entire hour was spent and not even a question was asked about that. And even that, as I mentioned before, that's when Jagdeo started to try to paint Dharmalal as a peach, and everybody's suddenly political. Everybody's suddenly political. All of these organizations in which the said Jagdeo and the PPP would have called on in previous time, like for example, when the leader of the opposition didn't shake the president's hand, he called on all of them to condemn, and you had white condemnation. Now you have such a most gross and damning allegation level at your sitting minister, and not the first allegation, mind you, not the first, but Jagdeo comes out this afternoon and try to paint Dharmalal as a peach, and it speaks to how the People's Progressive Party, Civic, but specifically Jagdeo, view these matters as light. In his interpretation, probably he sees the young lady as just another Amerindian child, and you just give them some money and they'll go wash away and so forth. And that is why he spoke like that tonight. It is a shameful display by the vice president.
But Chris, I'm happy that you brought that part in, which is saying that this is how they view the Amerindian people.
Yes.
I said earlier in a post that the Amerindians are our first people. And we ought to give them that kind of respect, if not for nothing else, for the contributions they have made to this country.
Correct.
And I'm hoping that persons are seeing how this government values the indigenous people.
Correct.
You only want them for their votes.
That's right.
Imagine we have a minister of Amerindian affairs, not a word. This is a 16-year-old, an innocent child.
That's right.
And the female ministers have not said anything, which is saying to me that they are all accomplices after the fact.
Correct.
You got accomplices before the fact or the act, during and after. But what I want us to get a little more into detail in, Jagdeo talks about Christopher Jones and empty treasury. He should be the last person to talk about that. Christopher Jones, Pradoville 1, where Jagdeo got them monies to buy that house. Pradoville 2, where Jagdeo got them monies to buy that. Plus where he lives there now.
Correct. Correct.
And Jagdeo talking about Christopher Jones.
And it's the very Jagdeo. And when he served as president, you had the failed fiber optic cable plan program. You had the failed Skeldon Sugar Factory. You had the road to nowhere with Fit Motilal. And the list goes on.
On and
Jagdeo
on.
said in a statement, I recall, that if Skeldon Sugar Factory doesn't produce the amount of sugar, he will resign. It never did produce, and Jagdeo is still there. The same man.
As a matter of fact, this is the same man who said to us after his second term that he did not want to have another term.
That's right.
But behind our backs, he went and got one of his cronies to go and file something so he can get a third term.
That's correct.
Why you think he's sitting there as vice president?
Correct.
Because he's obsessed with power. And this is the man who is robbing thousands of Guyanese a comfortable life.
That's right.
Because of all the monies that he's collecting. This is the man.
Correct.
He has served his term as finance minister. Then he went up and he was something else. And then now he is now
vice president.
He served as president. Now he's vice president.
And dominating the show.
And he's also general secretary.
Yes.
And poor Coretta McDonald. They got a problem with Coretta McDonald being general secretary of the GTU and APNU AFC MP.
Yeah. Because once it's Jagdeo and the PPP, it is good.
It is
if
good.
It's anybody else, it's a problem.
Something is wrong with it.
You asked the question indeed, as it relates to where is the president? Where is the individual who's supposed to be president of this nation?
Well, Chris, let me answer that.
Sure.
He is making impromptu visits to Kitty Campbellville, Kitty area. There's somewhere all around. He's only making impromptu visits.
And Jagdio is dominating. I mean, on the 8th of June, before the election, there was a press conference by Jagdio. Elections night at 11 o'clock, Jagdio came out of his bed to tell me that he will sleep comfortably. Then you had an interview on 94.1. Then you had another press conference by Jagdio. And here it is again, just a few minutes ago, you had the other interview. And to date, post-elections, this nation has not heard from the president. And then again, as it relates to the allegation before on Nigel Darmalal, this nation has not heard from the president. But what you're hearing inside of the PPP camp is, and if this is true and accurate, to Irfan's credit.
Chris, let me stop you. Why are you saying that you're not hearing from the president? You are hearing from the president.
Of Jagdio.
You are hearing from the president.
Corrected.
The president is
I stand
Jagdio.
corrected. I stand corrected. But the word inside is that Irfan Ali and a few other ministers want Nigel Darmalal gone, because these allegations are not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third, it's not the fourth. The list goes on. But Jagdio, because Nigel Darmalal happens to be a Jagdionite. Jagdio is what is standing in place, because from what I've been told, had Irfan Ali had his way, Nigel Darmalal would have gone long. Because like us in the opposition, like many organizations and Guyanese in general, the PPP knows the issues about Darmalal. Now, Jagdio tonight in his interview said that if such an allegation was leveled at the APNU AFC ministers, we would not have seen the minister going to the police station. We would not have heard about an investigation being listen, such an allegation has never
and will never
happen under the APNU. And when it comes to the People's Progressive Party Civic, Nigel Darmalal is not the only one.
No.
There was the allegation before you had the Region 1 chairman, Patrick Ashley. Then you had is he still sitting member? You had Barry Ramsaran. You had what the youngster name? Alistair Charlie. That is currently in the parliament.
You had
Naubat. You had Ganga Prasad.
You had Ganga Prasad.
Who, it is alleged, Ganga Prasad, when he served as minister, that it is alleged, impregnated a young Amerindian girl.
Who is supposed to be the niece of Pauline
Sukai. So by virtue of the fact, all of these are allegations, but by virtue of the fact that it came so close to home, the PPP acted quickly and it was removed. And that is the point I was making some time ago on a previous program, that when your neighbor house on fire, throw water upon your own, because it will come to you. And that is why we call on all and sundry that they must lend their voices and feet on the ground in support of an impartial investigation. Because today it is a young Amerindian girl from Region 2. And if you allow this matter to be swept under the carpet, which Jagdio is hoping that it goes, then tomorrow you hear another story and it could be another minister. And irrespective of your portfolio or your position that you hold, whether in government or in opposition or any senior government official, whatever the case be, if allegations of this nature is made public, is that you act swiftly. There must be an impartial investigation. Sad situation that we have in the country is that people just don't trust the police, which is about the worst a country could possibly get. Look, for example, we saw the statement emanating from Region 2 from one Kemraj, I can't remember his last name, the police officer, alleging that this is what the girl said, and he had that statement. To date, apparently, he has been pushed in the corner, but that too should be an investigation on that.
I was coming to that one. I was going to ask us to let's look at this whole thing in a chronological order. This young lady made a statement.
Correct.
A detailed statement. And I must applaud her, because as a 16-year-old, I feel proud as a teacher that our children can express themselves not only orally, but in the written form. Right. She detailed the entire scenario. The president, the man who is supposed to be the president, Irfan Ali, said He heard about it via Facebook. He saw it on Facebook. No official report was made. Now I want to educate Irfan Ali to let him know that there isn't supposed to be any official report from the young lady to you or to the police. A neighbor, according to the act, a neighbor could make the report. So a passerby could make the report. And the job of the police is to go out there and investigate.
That's right.
Now, Irfan was waiting, or Orphan, I don't ever get his name right, but he was waiting for an official report. Now, in light of not having an official report, a superintendent of police took a statement, according to them, from this young lady saying she is either disclaiming or whatever she said there. Now, my thing is, this is the commander for that area, that region. How are you going to take, or on what ground was he taking this recanting statement when there was nothing that came before you?
That's right. That's right.
How is it? So it is safe for us to say that even that police officer is an accomplice.
That's right.
And he should be investigated.
Correct.
Because when we look at this thing, when you look at the statement that they did there, signed with the girl parents, something. I got it somewhere. I don't know if the operator would be able to pull that up. But this man actually took more than 3 hours to put these in the 16 lines or whatever together. Now, it leaves one to wonder what was happening in between all that time.
Right.
Was this girl in his office where he was questioning her? What were the questions being asked?
Yeah.
Who was there with her? And if her parents were there, who are the other witnesses there? Because if this young lady is going to write and recant what she said first, then we must have had other witnesses signing on to this.
Correct.
Not you and the parents alone, because we can't trust the police anyhow. So this police officer should be asked to step aside, and he himself should be investigated.
Yes.
Because in our mind, it seems as if this police officer was given instructions to cover up this whole matter.
Yeah. And then there is the matter of the $10 million.
Then we have exactly the matter of the $10 million. I am happy, though, that there was an independent organization who was able to rescue that young lady, grab her. And she did a video recording where she highlighted every single thing. And she even spoke about the $10 million that was given. If Nigel is innocent, why would he want to pay $10 million? Exactly. Now, when we look at the city of Georgetown, I'm not talking about the East Coast and the East Bank, because all of them feeling the squeeze. Georgetown, since last Thursday, in the city of Georgetown, I can talk about what happens in Alexander Village, in West Romvelt, and East Romvelt. Garbage would have been piled up on the streets since last week, Thursday. To date, they have not been removed. But this same beast got $10 million to give to this young lady. Yeah. And this is outside of the monies that he would have given before and so on. So I can safely say that these monies are my taxpayers' dollars, this my using. But the girl detailed that $5 million was given before and $5 million was given after, and they came to Georgetown, or he went there, and then he wanted to see her because he wanted to kneel down and to beg her, and there's a statement there where he alleged that it was the devil who used him. Well, I would want to ask my good friend, well, he's supposed to be my good friend, Pastor Onisi LaFleur, to pray for his friend Nigel Daramlal. I'm disappointed that we're not hearing anything from the religious bodies. They're silent, and I want to know why.
Saving up something, Pastor, he would.
You know, except for him who came out on the march with us on Monday. Yeah. I am hearing a deafening silence from them. I'm not hearing from the guardians of democracy. And let's recap a little, let's go back a little. When we had the issue of the mace, you remember how all the trolls came out? What happened to them now? Where are these people now?
We were told so many things about us.
Where are these people now?
So
Priya, not a word, except to come out there to make herself a fool to talk about she piloted this act. And nowhere in all the ramblings that she was trying to say there did she say that she felt sorry for this young lady and she's going to be putting systems in place for them to offer. She's recommending that counseling and so on be offered to this young lady. Nowhere there. I think I heard Vindi coming out with something there, but none of them are bold enough. None of these women, O.H. Waldron, the grandmother, the mother of all, Gail Teixeira, Pauline. Well, I can't count Susan Rodriguez because I know if she here or she there. The other one. I mean,
but none of them.
Sonia, none of them could come out. Not even what was public service minister before?
Jennifer West.
Jennifer, none of them could come out to say anything or to ask, look, this is my colleague, but sir, we're asking you to step back. Now, the president come and he tell us a Nancy story that the minister wrote him saying that he will proceed on administrative leave. Is the tail wagging the dog?
Apparently.
Because I don't understand in which civil society we would see a minister who's embroiled in an issue.
Correct.
Now, I want us to date back to 1991 when the late Rashley Jackson served as Foreign Affairs Minister, the longest serving Foreign Affairs Minister in this country, and maybe in the Caribbean, from 1978 to 1991. His son was embroiled in something with marijuana or something to that effect. And I think he was held by the police, something like that. And immediately, Rashley Jackson tendered his resignation to Desmond Hoyt, who was president at that time.
No, Jaglia don't know that. Or Jaglia pretends that he doesn't know that.
And when I was talking to some of the elders in our party, they said there was something with Robert Corbyn when he was minister.
Yeah, and the allegation about the barge.
Tender
his resignation.
And he tendered his resignation. Now, something as serious as this one.
That's what I'm saying. Jaglia just a few minutes ago said that if it was the APNU, AFC, or the PNC, no investigation would have happened. And the same Jaglia speaks about telling lies. When you talk about a bold, bare, brazen-faced individual like him, the same man who tell the nation that he married, is talking about lies.
Well, these things are happening in our country because these people, they have no respect. They don't fear God. No. And that is why these things are happening. I heard some rumors today, and that's why I said I don't even know where Susan is. I heard some rumors today, but I'm not going to go into it as yet until we get clarification. But the thing is, Chris, I really want to know, why is Jagdio dodging the real issue? And he's trying to pull in a Christopher Jones. He's pulling in somebody else. He cussing out all them trades and all them everybody else. He cussing out everybody else, other than addressing the real issue. Now, I remember the sensation that was brought about with former Minister of Finance Winston Jordan. I didn't even know that they had him in shackles.
They did.
I like somewhere I missed that. But here is it. You have Nigel Dharamlal casually going into the Bridam police station, spending less than 4 hours.
That's correct.
And then he went on $1 million bail.
That's correct.
I don't know which part in our law gives the station the right to put anybody on $1 million bail. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me, or maybe we'll have to wait for Jagdio to respond to this. But $1 million bail. I also learned today that attempts have been made to repaint Dharamlal's home. I saw that today. And so all that they're doing here, and that's why we're saying we don't want the Guyana Police Force to do any further investigation, because we have no faith in them, none whatsoever we have. Because the fact that this home is going to be repainted, it is saying that they want to put this young lady in a situation where if she says, well, it was a greenhouse I went to, when they turn up there, the house is now in white.
Yeah.
And they're putting all of these together so that this case can be thrown out.
Exactly.
But I want to use this opportunity, Chris, to call on the Twisha House Council. You must come out and speak out. I want to call on every Indigenous brother, sister, mother, and father. Come out and speak out about these issues. Stand in your regions and speak out against these issues, because today it might be for this young lady, tomorrow your sister might end up in this, or your brother might end up in this if we allow Dharamlal to go. And it's not only Dharamlal, they got so many more of them.
It's correct.
And that's why they're so quiet.
Yeah.
That is why they're so quiet.
Because they
got plenty allegations against them.
Yeah.
And you know what? It is sad that they are using Amerindian brothers and our Amerindian sisters and our Amerindian parents against their own children.
Yeah.
This is cruelty to the highest extent. And you know, I've heard so many other mothers coming out there to say, if that was my child, the story would have been a different story.
Yeah, that's the point. And if the allegation was made to a John Doe, an average person, East Rhineveld, West Rhineveld, whatever, that person would have been in the lockups.
Tell me about
would
it.
have been denied bail.
Yes.
Would have had to spend at least 72 hours. Would have been paraded straight up the court steps. And within a few minutes before any proper investigation, that person would have been charged. You had many of those persons like that. But where it comes to, and there's a different law. Like, for example, you made mention the fact that Nigel spent less than 4 hours at Brickdam lockups. But when Roxanne Myers went in to do her interview, she was detained at the BV police station, made to sleep on a cold concrete floor for 72 hours. When Trevor Ben went to the Brickdam police station,
I remember that.
he too was locked up, made to stay in the cell for 72 hours. When James Bond went to the police to follow up on a report, he too was made to spend 72 hours in the Brickdam lockups for frivolous,
What
trumped up charges.
What about Mingo?
Mingo,
What about
Dexter Ford, Carol Joseph, you name it, the list goes on. But it appears that there is a different law, or the police has a different standard operating procedure when it comes to People's Progressive Party civic friends, family, favorite, and ministers.
Yep.
And ministers. You know, like this, I mean, as I said, if you saw the interview earlier with Jack Dio, you know, and I mean, as I mentioned before, I don't know what is the fixation on me.
He just got mad, you know.
No, listen, when you look at Jack Dio, you look at his body language, you look at his facial features, you're looking at a wounded dog. Literally,
Look
you went
right
in?
there. Look
Is
right there.
Yeah. You went into a dog fight, which was local government elections, and you were wounded. So Jaglio came out like a wounded dog. So Jaglio now has to find every program, every radio to just defend himself. But you can't defend the defendless. Jaglio set out to win these municipalities.
Yes.
Jaglio had established about a few months ago a ministerial body, which was and the target was Georgetown. And each minister had a specific responsibility in a different constituency. Right through. For example, Susan Rodriguez had Sapphire and so forth. And they plugged all of the resources necessary because Jaglio had to give Irfan Ali and the Irfanites a show that, listen, Jaglio is the boss and he go win this election. Watch you can see I go win Georgetown. Watch you can see I go win New Amsterdam. Watch you can see I go take over Linden. And pumped over $9 billion into the campaign. The PPP spent or procured over 40,000 red t-shirts. Those flags that you see now are tattered on every lamppost across the country. They printed 400,000 of those. Give out contracts, give out $250,000 or whatnot, with the objective to make Jaglio the boss, because Jaglio about to win Georgetown and win Linden and win New Amsterdam. And Jaglio failed. And the Irfanites are the ones who come up and say, listen, you failed. But Jaglio has to defend himself. So now he's like a wounded dog, and he has to go on every radio program, every TV program to start to defend himself. And I don't know what victory they're talking about. But You lost. You understand me? Nobody goes into election. Listen, a sitting government don't go into an elections and spend over $9 billion to make inroads. Who does that? You went with an objective to win. And then Jagmeet said on the program that Christopher Jones robbed the treasury of the APNU. Now, comrades, listen, all and sundry would have seen the APNU campaign across this country. You had no flags, you had no t-shirt, you had nothing. So I don't know what treasury to begin with existed.
Well,
but
Chris,
that is the nature of the man.
Chris, you shouldn't say we had no t-shirts. Our people, because of their dedication,
that's
they
right,
printed their own t-shirts.
Well, there you go. You had that.
In some of the neighborhoods, curricular. I saw that on the East Coast.
Right.
I saw it in New
Region
York.
5. I saw that
Region
too.
5, the people printed their own t-shirts.
Because that was love for party and a rejection of a one-party rule that Jagdeo himself, the week before in his press conference, said that he has no problem with it. So that is what he set out to do, to create a one-party state. And that is why he plugged over $9 billion in the campaign. And now the Irfanites are calling for Jagdeo to go. And that is why even to now you can't, Irfan Ali is not even being allowed to emerge. And then this incident comes along with Nigel Darmalal. You know, and the same thing again, based on the reports, there's a whole tussle in the PPP. There's one faction, there's the Jagdeo faction, there's the Irfanites. The Irfanites want Nigel Darmalal gone because the Irfanites know this is not the first, the second, the third allegation that has been leveled against him. They want him gone. Pauline Sukai, as Amerindian Affairs Minister, knows times more. That's why she's not speaking. In many of the Amerindian communities, with allegations leveled against Nigel Darmalal, many of which, so she said nothing. She knows the story.
Chris,
and then she had her own experience, with her niece and another PPP minister.
But Chris, you notice the same 16-year-old girl said Pauline Sukai warned them.
And Lennox Schumann. That's right. But Lennox Schumann didn't say nothing now.
Lennox Schumann warned them about this beast.
Everybody knows him.
And so everybody knows that this guy go out there and he's sorting out all of these pretty looking Amerindian girls. And Chris, I must say that we got pretty Amerindian girls living in regions 9, 2, 7, 8, 1.
And that's where he prowls.
And because he's the Minister of Local Government, he has the
ministerial responsibility.
The responsibility, the pomp and the scene, and you should see him how he would drop himself.
Minister and throw him his weight on them.
And so he has the authority to go to each region. And he doesn't only go there to work, but he goes there to prowl and to prey on our little girls.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming weeks or months or whatever the case be, you have other victims who probably they're waiting to see the outcome of this and how the investigation goes, and you may see other victims emerging. But people, as we mentioned before, don't trust the system. People don't trust the police to investigate any matter. And that's why a lot of victims, even outside of this particular issue, a lot of victims don't come forward because they don't trust the system. And worse yet, if there's a big buy, a rich buy, or your family members rich, victims outlawyer you, outspend you, and you got friends in the police force. Which is sad.
And that is why we are saying at this time that we don't trust. Because the fact is, Darmalal knew, as by the time this thing was being put together, message was already sent to them that this young lady was putting this thing out.
That's right.
And so very, very quickly, they attempted to cover it up. The Minister of Education got the information rather than, and she was the person who piloted this act, you know. Rather than doing what is supposed to have been done, she passed the message down to her chief education officer. But I can talk about that one on another program. Passed it down to the chief education officer, passed it down. So when we know that matters of these nature are supposed to be going in a different direction.
Exactly.
What you wanted the chief education officer to tell this
Exactly.
girl? Oh, I'm sorry, it not gonna happen again. That's what you wanted him to tell this young lady?
It was there was a series of attempts by
Yes.
very senior officials of the government and some very senior members of the police force.
And they are still doing this, because my thing is, I want to know, why is it that the police waited until last night to go and visit Dharam Lal's home, or to search his home, or to take the young lady around to view? Why are you doing these things nighttime?
Yeah.
Why nighttime? And then you have prevented, or they were attempting to prevent this young lady from speaking with her attorneys. Attorneys came together and they've decided that we are going to work in the interests of this young lady and her family.
Yeah.
And they have prevented them. I noticed the Honorable Kemraj Ramjatan is one of those attorneys who has decided he's going to throw his hand in there to assist this young lady in her defense. Why are the police preventing this young lady from speaking to the people who are there to defend her?
You know, Coretta, let's put this out there now. Every political party, and I'm probably paraphrasing the late Deborah Baca, every political party has bad eggs.
Of course.
And in the National Assembly, when the late Deborah Baca spoke, she addressed the speaker. She said, you know, Mr. Speaker, in the PNC, we got bad eggs. She turned to Raphael Trapman, who was in the opposition bench at the time. In the AFC, they got bad eggs, Mr. Trapman. And then she turned and she said, but in the PPP, all of their eggs are bad. Right? All of the eggs are bad. Deborah Baca. And it's like you're constantly seeing those words from the late Deborah Baca coming in. Is that it?
Yes.
You actually, I've been looking for it for a number of years. So you have those words coming up. Now, Irfan Ali, as a first-time president, has an opportunity now to secure his legacy, albeit the talks about him being installed, president, whatever. He has an opportunity now to secure his legacy as a sitting president. And this allegation has painted your entire administration in a bad light. And it is up to you. You know, as I said on the campaign trail to people after we spoke with them, is that the elders always told me that you can take a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink.
That is true.
At the end of the day, President Ali, it is up to you how you and your administration and your legacy, how you would want your legacy to be dubbed. As the president who sat and had a sitting minister with some of the most damning, gross allegation leveled against him by a minor, and then you two know that it is not the first, the second, the third. It dates back all the way when the individual was the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Indigenous Affairs. At the end of the day, it's up to you. You can take Jaglio's route, which is always the worst, You could take Jaglio route and try to circle the wagon as a political party, as PPP normally does. You can circle the wagon. You could shield the minister. You could let this issue be swept under the carpet, but people will never forget you. That young child will grow up remembering the People's Progressive Party Civic and what they did to her. Likewise, if she has siblings and relatives and the people there in Region 2, and even your own supporters to their commendation too. Because even your supporters have been commenting on this, calling for an investigation, and that Nigel Darmalan must go. You could either choose to listen to your own supporters who supported you as president. We don't. You could listen to the cries of the victim or victims, because there's more than one. You know Nigel because you serve as cabinet persons together and so forth. Or you could preserve the legacy of Muhammad Irfan Ali as the president who stood up, as the commander and chief who stood up, law investigation to be conducted and concluded. And at the end of that, the minister, once the investigation has concluded that he's guilty, face the full brunt of the law. Similar statements were made just a few minutes ago by Bharat Jagdeo. Irfan Ali, not even Jesus the Christ trusts anything from Jagdeo's mouth. And worse yet, this nation.
Yeah.
Jagdeo has proven over and over and time again that he lied for the least of things. He lied to the nation that he was married. He lied to the nation that he could make Skeleton Sugar Factory the best thing next to sliced bread. He lied to the nation about the fiber optic cable, and the list goes on. You know the man. All we know the man. It is up to you at the end of the day.
Chris, while we are saying this, there are so many young ladies out there who are suffering.
Yep.
There are so many mothers out there who are suffering. And it is just disgusting that this country, just today I heard on one of the radio stations where the announcer was saying Guyana is now primed to be the wealthiest country in South America. But yet we have our people living in poverty.
That's
and Jagdeo is dodging all of that.
Correct.
And it's because of the poverty that exists among the residents and citizens of this country that is causing poor Amerindian brothers and sisters, Afro-Guyanese brothers and sisters, poor Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters or parents to not want to come forward when issues like these are prevailing in their societies.
Correct. And they are of the opinion that compensation or payout is the way to go.
Yes, because the thing is, Chris, and I don't buy this for any minute, but the reality is, when I can't put a cup of lime wash on my table for my children.
That's right. And that is what the PPP is doing to the nation.
And they feel good about doing this. I want to bring us a little closer home. $9 billion you pumped into a local government elections. And you have teachers who are suffering at this time. You can't complete their salaries proposal. You can't even complete and bring up to par those teachers who are having differences in their salaries. And these are teachers who would have graduated from CPC. One said getting one amount and another said getting another amount. And these are teachers who would have been there, let's say, from 2019, 2017 in the system, as against those who are there from 2020, 2021. There's a difference in their salaries where the ones who graduated 2017, 2019, 2018, as against those who graduated in 2020, the ones in 2020 and beyond receiving more than the other set. You can't even bring them up to par there.
Which is supposed to be a simple process.
Which is supposed to be a simple process because you got 5 million of them.
That's right.
You got 500,000 of them. You can't bring them up to par, but it's all right for you to spend those kinds of monies on elections.
That's right.
We have our teachers who are suffering there with an $8,000 clothing allowance. You can't bring them up to par to give them a $15,000, but you got 10 million. That your beast minister could give as compensation. You've got teachers who are suffering in this system. All the ills you can talk about: high pressure, diabetes, cancer, which has been taking a lot of our teachers who got kidney issues. You can't offer any kind of assistance to these teachers, not even to put out there a medical plan for them. But you got monies, billions of dollars to throw in an elections campaign. You got hundreds of thousands of dollars to just walk the streets and give to people. But these are your educators who keep the wheel of this economy turning. And you can't respect them. You don't respect them, but you are doing all kinds of foolishness with our taxpayers' dollars. This is the same man, Bharat Jagdeo, who, while he sat in opposition, always used out the APNU and was always there to talk about the contract that was signed with ExxonMobil and what he's going to do, ExxonMobil, and what he's going to do. But this is the same man who the judge would have ruled saying, look, the parent company must stand as guarantee just in case we have an oil
Correct.
spill. And this is the same man who is joining with his attorney general
Yes.
to appeal that decision. Now tell me if this man really
As your
respects
interest.
the interests of Guyana
Exactly.
and of our people here in Guyana, whether he got our interests at heart. You see, Chris, we have to be up and about and we have to talk about these issues because at the end of the day, Jagdio, all of them got visas and they got monies in bank accounts overseas.
That's right.
Where they can fly and go about their business. But we, the people here, the masses of the Guyanese people, will have to stay here and suffer.
That's right.
If,
That's
God
right.
forbids, if there's an oil spill, we will have to stay here and suffer. And you know what might happen? Venezuela might pull off their piece of Guyana that they so badly want. Somebody else might pull another piece because we might very well not have monies
There you go.
to deal with it.
There you go.
And this is the man who always wants to talk about what should happen, what must happen, but when he is in the driver's seat, he doesn't make it happen.
Exactly. Listen,
You know, let me just finish this one. This is the same man who sat as president when the Guyana Teachers Union signed their first multi-year agreement. He was president then. We spoke about the housing revolving project. Like the leader of the opposition would always say, he has never done anything that has been fruitful. This man signed this agreement with the GTU and the housing project, revolving project, never came off the ground. This is the same man who signed on with us. Well, he didn't sign, his government signed on with us on the house lots project. Not a teacher got any benefit from that. Teachers had to go on their own to apply to housing and so on to get house lots. And this is the man who would talk about, oh, this person, he criticizes everybody else, but he doesn't see the fault within himself. This is the Jagdio man. This is the Jagdio man who dodges all the real issues, but he always wants to bring up at this and to throw dirt on somebody else. But I want to say to you, friends, my viewers, I want to say to you, we have to stand firm as a nation. We have to stand together as one people, one nation with one destiny. And we have to stand up for this young Amerindian sister, this young Amerindian daughter. And so I want to urge you to take, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes from your time tomorrow, and let's go stand in front of the convention center tomorrow and voice our displeasure, because the CCJ, the judges, they're here. Let them see us. Let them hear from us. Let them see our placards. Come out in your numbers and let's go out there and stand for our sister, stand for our daughter. Let's join the protest every day until justice is served. Dharamlal must go. After which we must have that investigation going full speed. I am waiting for them to say that we have sent the file to the DPP. I'm waiting to hear what the DPP will say, because I know we got a DPP who don't P and D when some time come around. I'm waiting to hear what the DPP will say to us. Now, I mean, fathers, mothers, sisters, grandmothers, what explanation can we give to a young child who has been violated the way this young lady would have been violated? What compensation can we give to her? Huh? What compensation? What can we say to a young lady who has got to live the rest of her life with this kind of scar? What do we say to her? Absolutely nothing. And so this stand that we are taking here is not for us. It is for our young daughters, our young sons, our grandchildren, and those grandchildren to come and the great grands. That's the stand we're taking. We're taking that stand for them. And so I want to say, yes, good night to all of our folks who are watching us, those from East La Penitence, those from Camberville, those who are watching from North America, those who are watching from everywhere. Good night, good night, good night to you, and thanks for watching us. And we want to ask you to spread the message. Spread the message and let everyone know that we are going to continue to be on the road tomorrow. Convention Center, Liliendal. We're also going to be at the Ministry of Local Government. We are going to be in front of the Ministry of Education. We are going to be in front of the Office of the President. All of these areas we are going to stand in front of. We are going to stand in front of the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, because all of these people have failed our children. They have failed our girls. They have failed our mothers. And we want to call them out. You know, surprisingly, I'm not hearing anything from the Private Sector Commission. Not a word. Right. They are absolutely quiet. And I'm wondering why. I am wondering why. You know, on other issues, you hear them, but not on this issue. I am wondering where is the on national security? Where is he? You know, it's amazing how hypocritical some of these folks could be. On other issues, they talk up. Oh, the mace issue, man, you couldn't hear your ear. All of them had their own pronouncements to make. They had names to call, Annette Ferguson and Vince Roy and all of those MPs who were sanctioned. They had names to call them. We're not hearing them calling names now. We're not hearing them condemning what this beast would have done. But you know what? More than that, we have to keep a close eye on the police force. The Guyana political force, we have to keep a close eye on them, because they're not the Guyana police force. They're the Guyana political force. And I want to call out the First Lady and say, shame on you as a mother. Shame on you, Sonia Parag, as a sister. Shame on you, all of you. Pauline, Pauline is a totally different story. A different story. But I would always say, if the president wants people to take him serious, then he must stand as a man. If the president wants people to listen to him and to believe what he's saying, then he must stand as a man. Stand up as a man and make the decisions as the president. You're not there for window dressing. You are there because you are saying that you care. We want to see the care being portrayed now. Practice what you preach. I want to call some other religious people names, but I really ain't sure that I got the time to do that. But I know that our viewers are calling their names out. They're typing their names in the comment section. And I want these people to know that we will continue to call out them. Gail Teixeira, the lady who knows everything. One of the longest serving members of parliament. And she dumb at this time. She's dumb at this time. Let me tell y'all something. Real men don't rape. Real men don't rape. Real men don't groom minors. Real men look for adults like themselves. That's what real men do. And so to the beast and all of his acolytes, whatever we want to call them, I noticed one of the persons in the comment section is saying it could never be the house in Chili Bar or Chili Bar, wherever the places where quite a lot of those government ministers living. It could never be there that Dharamlal took this little girl. He took her somewhere else. And then I heard about sleeping. And if we're hearing about sleeping, that she went there and so on, we were going to have to ask persons to boycott some of these places that the names are calling, because you ought to have a principle set out that you're not going to encourage these kinds of activities in your establishment. So we're going to have to ask people to boycott some of these establishments, because you are just as guilty as the perpetrators. Yes, a sleeping was mentioned, but that will be dealt with at another forum when we have all of the information there. But the fact is, as is right now, Nigel, the rapist, the dildo, the Dharamlal boy, has been accused of raping and sodomizing a 16-year-old girl. And that must be thoroughly investigated. The president must send Dharamlal home now. The president must dismiss Dharamlal, because this administrative leave that Dharamlal is now placed on still gives him the right as a minister to enjoy all the benefits. And again, let me say, Dharamlal is not a public servant. He is a political appointee, and therefore the public service rules doesn't govern Dharamlal. So don't get mixed up with this, and you always try to throw things into people's faces. We big and we got sense, and we understand the rules of the day. Dharamlal is not a public servant. And so, Mr. President, the ball is in your court. Just send Dharamlal home. Whether Jagdo is annoyed with you or whoever else is annoyed with you, you have a legacy to build. You have a legacy to leave behind you. So if you can't send Dharamlal home, we, the people of this country, would also agree that you are part and the parcel of promoting what Dharamlal is doing. We're going to say that. If you cannot do right by this nation, then we would have to say that you are part and parcel of it. So, our women, we want to see you out there tomorrow. Our taxi drivers, we want to see you out there tomorrow. Our security guards, we want to see you out there tomorrow. Our nurses, we want to see you out there tomorrow. Our housewives, we want to see you out there tomorrow. Even the school children, we want to see some of you out there tomorrow, because this young lady is just about your age and just maybe a year or two above you for those who are in the grades 8, 9, 10, 11. Because I learned that she has just completed CSEC. We want to see some of you out there tomorrow to say to President Ali, to say to Minister Manik Chand, to say to Minister Vindi Prasad, to say to Minister Sonia Parag and Gail, to Sharon and Pauline and all of them. You are tired and fed up with the nonsense that they're doing and the games that they're playing with your lives. We want you to call them out. We want you to come and join the march. Join the march that says no to Dharamlal and that kind of behavior. No to all the Dharamlals is, let me call it that, the Dharamlals is, no to all of them who feel that they can pounce on people's innocent girl children and do whatever they feel like doing with them. It is not going to stand by us. We will not stand with that. And you see all of these ministers, female ministers who are always dumb and mum on issues like these, you don't fit to be called ministers. How do we call you honorable when you sit idly by and not say anything when injustices are being meted out to people's children? You know, when the police shoot people's children on the streets, you call them all sorts of names. Here is a sitting minister of government, Nigel Dharamlal, doing the most vulgar and the most cruel and the most reckless of act, and you are still dumb, your mouth is still zipped, then something is definitely wrong with you. You yourself needs some kind of treatment. But we've come to recognize that this is the manner with which the PPP operate. This is how the PPP treat women. This is how they treat women. They have absolutely no respect for women. Talk all they want about Dr. Jagan, but he has never stood for these kinds of things. Never. Excuse me. And that is why I know that the older folks within the PPP party, the many, many supporters, the older ones, they are sad, they are bruised, they are disappointed with the way Jagdio is leading this party and the kinds of things he's allowing. But you know what? I am hoping that I'm going to hear from the Speaker of the National Assembly. I'm hoping that I'm going to hear from him. He's another one who's numb, but he becomes very boisterous, when we sit in the National Assembly and we raise issues. He's very, very boisterous there to tell you, sit down. It's a non-issue. There's no urgency in this. We want to hear from him. With that, folks, I know that our time is running out on us, but I must mention, today we heard of an issue in Linden with businessman Hilton Lyle and the Tropical Reflections restaurant there right at the Five Corner. I need to get some more information on that one. I learned that there was some standoff there with the police and something. Not sure really what the issue is, and I wouldn't want to pronounce on it now. But I want to say to you, these are all acts, political acts. And these actions are all actions that seeks to cripple people who stand up for their right. But I want Mr. Lyle to know that we are watching and we are going to voice our opinion. We are going to stand up with you if injustice is being meted out to you. We cannot continue to have a cabal of people who feel that they can trample on the rights of persons. But until such time, please note that the Dharam Lal's alleged child rape case has been sent to the DPP. We are waiting to hear what the DPP will say. So join us tomorrow for more protest actions against Dharam Lal still sitting there as a minister, and the way forward that we're demanding that this entire investigation be done in an impartial manner. Until such time, do take care. We'll see you again next week, Wednesday, at 6:30 p.m. for another episode of Advancing the Cause. Be careful on the roadways. Stay well, my people. Let's continue to love one another. Let's continue to look out for each other. And let's continue to dismiss Jagdio and his foolishness and the way he sets out to divide this nation. Let's dismiss those. And let's remind him that we are one people, one nation, with one destiny. Until then, I do love you. Take care. Bye-bye.